Hello there everybody, it is me, FreezerBunny, and welcome back to another video. So today we are building this 2000s inspired suburban home in The Sims 2. So since this is my first video of 2025, I just want to wish you all a happy new year. Hopefully you guys are having a great year so far. It's been a very busy past couple of months for me. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to do much simming recently because I've been busy dealing with some personal stuff, which I will get into in this video. But I am very excited to finally have The Sims 2 on my computer again, because I tried to actually install The Sims 2 and The Sims 1, but I have like a 4K monitor and they just are not compatible with modern software. So I'm very happy that they decided to re-release this. I haven't been keeping track of the news recently. Like, I have not been paying attention to any Sims related news is what I'm trying to say. But it feels like this re-release came out of nowhere. Maybe that's just me, because like I said, I haven't been really keeping track of the news, but I feel like this re-release caught me off guard in a way, because I feel like I found out about this like 2 days before the actual re-release date, which is quite fun because I guess I didn't have to wait for like weeks or months for a re-release. But yeah, I guess I'm happy to have this back in my possession, for the lack of a better term. I have been having a lot of fun with The Sims 2 so far. The Sims 1, to me, I have a 4K monitor, and it still looks a little bit pixelated, unfortunately. I don't know if there's any way for them to upscale that, because The Sims 1's like really old software. So I don't know, I might just buy like a 1080p monitor. Maybe it'll look better. It just hurts my eyes to look at it in my 4K monitor. But I think The Sims 2 looks really good. It's a bit buggy though, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I had multiple crashes as I was playing the game, and as I was building this, there were quite a few interactions in build and buy mode that just caused my game to freeze and I couldn't do anything, and I had to force shut it down. And I think they released 1 or 2 patches for this, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, let me know if it's working fine for you guys. I think it's pretty okay for me. I have been doing quite a bit of gameplay for this, and I was actually checking on the EA app, because initially when this first released like 1 or 2 weeks ago, depending on when you're watching this, it didn't have a page on the EA app, which was weird for some reason. I feel like they should have like prioritized that, but I just found out that they added like a page for this on the EA app, and it says that I've been playing this for like 24 hours or something, over 20 hours, which I don't think I have, to be honest. Like, I love the concept of like having played this for that many hours already, but I do not think I played it for that long, because the only thing I did was play a little bit of gameplay and work on this build. Like, literally, this is one of the first things I did, and then I just cheated, moved the sim in here, and just played to my heart's content with cheats. Like, I didn't do the whole thing of, trying to give them a job or whatever. I mean, I gave them a job, but I didn't do the whole thing of like starting from scratch, if you guys get what I mean. Yeah, I think a lot of this game is still the same as I remember it from like when I played it back in like 2006, I want to say. And this is kind of nostalgic for me because the last time I played The Sims 2 was actually back in 2015, and I still have that Let's Play on the channel. I'm not sure if it's still available or if I privated it, because a lot of the older Let's Plays, I used to do Let's Plays by the way, now I do exclusively speed builds and like building related content, CC overviews and stuff like that. But back in the day, I used to do Let's Plays, and I did do a Let's Play on The Sims 2. I think it was like 5 episodes or something. and that was the last time I played The Sims 2. So it's kind of nostalgic, even though for my own personal gameplay, I played this like all throughout like the pandemic and stuff like that. It's on my laptop. It never left. I do have the physical versions of this, by the way. Unfortunately, it's not the complete collection because it's really hard to find the locally released versions of The Sims 2. I don't know if the US versions will work on my PC, because my country is NTSC, by the way, so it's like the same region as like the US, Canada, and Japan. But I'm not sure if it's gonna work. You know, I only have like 3 expansion packs with me for my physical collection of The Sims 2. But you know, who knows? I might expand that. I was very lucky because when I played this for the first time, I just borrowed my friend's copy, basically. I was very lucky to have a friend that actually just installed their copy on my computer. And they just gave me like 1 CD so that I can play it. Because basically, back in the day, before we had like Origin or the EA app, you needed to have a CD to get the game working on your computer. And obviously, I was very poor growing up. I could not afford like an original Sim CD, but you know, I had a school friend who I was very close with who was really into like simulation games and city building games, and they were just like, you know, let's install everything on your PC and you can just keep this CD for now. It was the Mansion and Garden CD, by the way, and they just left it with me. I think it would stay with me for like months. So yeah, that's how I experienced The Sims 2. The same thing happened with The Sims 1. It was a little bit different for The Sims 1 because I never got like all of the packs for The Sims 1 like in my PC. I just had the base game and I tried the different expansion packs individually with the base game. But once again, those were my friend's copy. Never really owned The Sims 1. Once again, I might consider buying like a physical version because I've been really into collecting physical media recently. This is a segue, but I've been really into collecting physical media. So I think I might look into getting The Sims 1 because I never really owned it growing up. And actually, I never really talked about the build here, but as you can see, this is a very nostalgic build. If you guys grew up in the 2000s like I did, you would know that this is a very popular style. We're going for kind of like that Mediterranean-esque suburban style, and this was definitely a very popular style even in my country. We had a next door neighbor. We had like a rich neighbor that had like a house that looked like this. It was also like a single story home, and it was like a huge house. It was like a sprawling property, and we can just see like all of the different details, the archways and the clay tile roof from where our house was. And that was like kind of like my reference point for this, I guess, because when I got into The Sims back in like 2006, this was kind of like the popular style of houses that were being built by the community. And The Sims 2 was like such a life changer for me because, as you guys know, The Sims was a huge influence on me when I decided to become an architect. And also the fact that I have a YouTube channel dedicated to The Sims, I guess, is also kind of a big deal for me personally. And yeah, this is kind of like the style that was popular at the time. I am a little bit sad at the fact that I did not get to back up a lot of my older builds, especially back in The Sims 2 days, because back in like 2005, 2006, YouTube wasn't really a thing. Like, we had forums, different websites and forums where we shared our builds, and it was like a really, really small community. Each website maybe had like 5 to 10 active users, maybe 15. And these websites were like ran by, you know, different fans of The Sims. You know, it was a very tight-knit community that I shared my builds with. And unfortunately, majority of those websites have now closed down because, you know, the creators of those websites just didn't want to maintain them, I guess. This started to happen like once The Sims 3 started coming out. Yeah, a lot of the Sims 2 websites shut down, and they just disappeared without any notice. So a lot of my uploads for those websites actually just got wiped, and I don't have any backup for them, unfortunately. I have a couple of like pictures of like my old builds, but I don't have the original files anymore because I think I saved them on a hard drive that doesn't work now, and I think my laptop, which wasn't actually a laptop, it was like a little notebook laptop kind of thing, that I used when I was starting in college, actually broke when I was in college because the architecture software that we were using at the time was like very like heavy software for the very small capacity, for the very minuscule capacity that that notebook had. So I played The Sims 2 on that laptop as well, so a lot of my files just disappeared, unfortunately. But you know, we can still reminisce. I still have vague memories of what my builds looked like back in the day, and a lot of them definitely involved the constrained floor elevation sheet, which, as you can see, takes up maybe a fourth of this video. So if you guys don't know what the constrained floor elevation sheet, it basically makes it so that you can change the shape of the walls. So at the very beginning of this video, you guys can see me make kind of like this arched entrance area just using walls, actually. And this is a feature that we see in The Sims 2 and in The Sims 3 because of the way the walls work. And unfortunately, this didn't carry over in The Sims 4 because The Sims 4 was more of like a room system, whereas, you know, it worked a little bit differently for The Sims 2 and The Sims 3. Like, building in The Sims 2 and The Sims 3 is actually very similar. The Sims 4 was kind of like the radical change. But I have to say, I think I prefer the freedom of building in The Sims 2 and The Sims 3. The Sims 3 especially, because I feel like The Sims 2 still had like some limitations. Well, actually, if I can combine The Sims 2 and The Sims 3, then it would actually be perfect, because The Sims 2 does have a lot of features that I like, such as being able to have almost unlimited number of floors. I think you can go up to 200 floors in The Sims 2 with a cheat, which is crazy. The Sims 3 was limited to 5 floors. The Sims 4 had 4 floors, so I don't know why it's like, I don't know why the floor numbers are diminishing as we get more and more games. So hopefully The Sims 5 can do something about that. Like, it gave us at least 10 floors. Like, come on, I want to build like mid-rise buildings. That's my literal rant on that. But The Sims 3 definitely has more of options, I guess. I like how The Sims 3 has half tile placement, because I found that very frustrating with The Sims 2, because a lot of the ceiling lights in particular are like one tile. But you know, if you have a room that's like an even number square, for example, then there's no way for you to be able to place that light in the middle of the room, and that bothered me so much. I think you can cheat to disable the grid placement, but I don't really like that because I want to snap all of the furnishings for this one, just because it's just a very satisfying feeling to snap the furniture. And speaking of that, actually, you have to cheat in The Sims 2 to place things on a diagonal, which is quite an adjustment from The Sims 3, which just came with that as a base feature. Also, unlike The Sims 4, The Sims 2 and The Sims 3 has a more unforgiving like routing for interacting with objects. The Sims 2 requires you to have like so much space to be able to like interact with an object, and you don't even get to like interact with objects on a diagonal. Like, there's a lot of objects that you can't interact with on a diagonal, even though there is a cheat for you to be able to place them in diagonals. They just do not work. I noticed this with skill items actually, but it works fine for like living chairs and sofas. I don't think you can place dining tables on a diagonal though, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there's also just a couple of like small features that I really like from The Sims 2 that I wish carried over in The Sims 4. I wish we had like a functioning telephone. I know they recently added like a decorative telephone in The Sims 4, but it's a decorative phone. Like I just want like a normal functioning phone. In The Sims 2, gameplay wise, you had to buy a cell phone for your Sims, because starting in The Sims 3, you didn't even have to buy phones for your Sim. Like they just came pre-packaged with the Sim. Like every Sim came with a free cell phone, I guess. But yeah, in The Sims 2, you have to go to like a place. You have to go to a community lot to like buy a cell phone, which I really like just for immersion purposes. And speaking of going to a community lot to buy stuff, you also have to go to a community lot to buy groceries and also to buy clothes. And I actually forgot the clothing part, because when I made my Sim, like my very first Sim for this playthrough, I actually forgot to give them like outfits. I only chose like their everyday outfit, and everything else was like randomized. So I realized that you couldn't actually click on a wardrobe or a mirror and pick their clothes. You can change their clothes to like formal wear or to like athletic or whatever, but you can't pick what clothes they wear, like their outfits. And you have to buy each outfit. You have to go to like a boutique or like a clothing store, and you have to buy an outfit. And I actually really like that feature. Like I wish that would come back in The Sims 4 just because of immersion purposes. That would be so cool. And I love being able to buy groceries as well. Imagine like the functional, supermarkets, or just, farmers markets that we can build in The Sims 4. They recently announced the new expansion pack, and it would have been so great to be able to have like a supermarket. I guess we have that with cottage living, but it doesn't really work like that. Also, it's weird that the Sims can just teleport from like one world to the next without like any kind of transition, which is where I'm gonna segue in the cars. As you guys know, I love having garages in my builds. Almost every house I build has a garage or has some sort of car decoration in The Sims 4. Unfortunately, The Sims 4 doesn't have garage, doesn't have functional cars. And it just made me so sad to see that, we have cars in The Sims 2, but not in The Sims 4. I feel like the way the cars were implemented in The Sims 2 would be so perfect in The Sims 4, because it's so similar when it comes to the gameplay. Sims 2 and Sims 4 is like, Sims 2 and Sims 4 are both like heavily like home lot based when it comes to the gameplay. Like you don't really go out of your home lot that much unless you're the type of person who likes looking at loading screens. That's not me, unfortunately. But I don't really go out of my home lot that much, even in The Sims 4. But when I do, I do feel like I get taken out of my immersion a little bit, because the Sims just teleport. And in The Sims 2, we do actually get a little animation of the Sims driving out of the driveway in their car. And I think that just makes such a difference. Also, we have carpools and school buses and stuff. And I wish these features made a return in The Sims 4, because The Sims 4 doesn't even have custom worlds. Let's just talk about that for a second. The Sims 4 worlds are pretty fixed. You can't really edit the world. So all of the road networks are pretty fixed. So I feel like it wouldn't be that difficult for them to actually have school buses and carpools and like, having car animations driving out, because The Sims 2, you can actually edit the worlds. You can actually create custom worlds if you have SimCity 4, which again was also introduced to me by that one friend that was really into the city building games. And if you make like a map in SimCity 4, you can export that into Sims 2, and you can create your own custom worlds. And actually, even if you don't have SimCity 4, like there are like some custom empty worlds that are available for you to add into your own save file, which is pretty cool. That's what I did here. I'm using an empty version of, I think, Desiderata Valley, if I'm not mistaken. It's the world that came with free time. So yeah, it's just so great to have that option to be able to customize your world and to be able to design your world from scratch. And honestly, just the really small things that matter to me in The Sims 2 are just things like, being able to have different options for bed frames and mattresses. I feel like this is like such a basic thing that The Sims 4 should have taken notes from, because it's like, come on, like I feel like honestly like 99% of the beds in The Sims 4 suck because the mattresses are just really ugly or they don't match the bed. Like I feel like we would have more options and versatility if they just gave us different swatches for the mattresses, or not different, separate like swatches for the mattresses and the bed frames. But this is a topic that has been discussed so many times by other people as well. Also same goes for the chairs, actually, for the dining chairs. Like you can choose different like upholstery patterns and stuff like that from the frame, and I feel like that's just such a basic thing that I would have loved to have seen in The Sims 4. Now with that being said though, I feel like I've been very like negative towards The Sims 4, so I'm gonna throw in a couple of positives as well. Like I like the create sim in The Sims 4 overall. I think The Sims 4 has probably the best create sim because of just how much options you have to customize your sims. And unfortunately, this version of the release of The Sims 2 just doesn't have body shop, which is another frustrating thing for me. It didn't come with IKEA, which is pretty annoying. And it also didn't come with body shop. And I don't know why they separated it, but body shop actually gave you more options to customize your Sims' appearance. Like you can get more into detail with how your Sims look. And unfortunately, because we don't have body shop with this release, I don't know if they're going to be able to integrate that in a patch or something, but we have very limited customization options for our Sims, which is really annoying. So Sims 4 does create a sim the best, in my opinion, out of any game in the franchise. And I feel like this is really like random, but plants and curtains. The curtains in these Sims 2 are just pretty terrible. We have a very terrible selection of curtains that just, yeah, I would actually just choose like windows without curtains, even though there's like no privacy, over like having to use like the really unattractive curtains that we have in this game. So I feel like the same with The Sims 3 actually. So I guess that's another point for The Sims 4 because it has better curtains. And for the trees, I do like the trees in The Sims 3. Not just the trees, but the landscaping in general. The Sims 4 landscaping sucks. The landscaping section of the catalog, I mean, has like really cartoony and very inconsistently looking trees. Like some of the older trees look very like cartoony, but some of the newer ones look okay. And they just do not match. And it's really sad because The Sims 4 has really excellent selection of landscaping materials in the by debug category, or sorry, in the show hidden objects. So if you guys see my builds in The Sims 4, most of the landscape or all of the landscaping comes from show hidden objects. Oh, by the way, if you notice me saving in this video, that's because like I said earlier, I've been getting crashes in this game and I did not want to lose any progress. I have actually lost some progress when I was furnishing the bedroom. The game crashed. So I had to like get back in there and like maybe salvage like 10 minutes of progress for me. But I was very indecisive when it comes to furnishing the kids' room. So there are 2 kids' rooms in this house. There's a total of 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. But for the kids' room, there's 1 room for the kid and 1 room for the teenager. To be honest, we don't really get a lot to do with the kids in this game, and also for the teenagers. So honestly, for my personal gameplay, I just send them off to like boarding school, I guess. So, I don't have to worry about them. I've done that with my original playthrough as well. Also, The Sims 2 just has a very weird like progression system. It doesn't really have like a story progression like The Sims 3 has. Like, people hate on The Sims 3 because of how laggy it is, but in my opinion, it does have the best story progression because The Sims 2 probably has some of the best gameplay mechanics. But I feel like the story progression just lets it down because, if you have a kid, the kid will grow up without their like school friends. Like, they tried to fix this with like free time, I think, where you can choose like 4 classmates or 4 fellow kids to grow up with, but that's just a really weird mechanic. Like, I just wish they handled aging better in The Sims 2. And I think they recently integrated like some sort of story progression in The Sims 4, but I don't think it really works without the open world. So yeah, kudos to The Sims 3. Despite the performance issues, you have the best story progression in my opinion, because I love playing with the Generations gameplay in The Sims 3 actually, where I just have a bunch of kids and I just leave my kids once they move out. I just don't interact with them. I don't even look them up for like years, and then they would have had lived their own lives, and it's a really fun process to like catch up with them and get to know their kids if they have kids or if they're in a relationship and stuff like that. So I really love that aspect in The Sims 3. I think Sims 3 is when I went farthest with my generation. I think I played through like maybe 3 or 4 generations in The Sims 3, maybe almost 5. I couldn't get past like 3 generations in The Sims 4, and I feel like the same with The Sims 2 as well, because I like the individual like gameplay mechanics in The Sims 2, but as far as like kind of like the generations gameplay, it just really gets bogged down with the progression aspect. But yeah, the kids room it's blue, and there's not really much you can do here, but I do like the fact that they have small doll houses. Shout out to The Sims 4. And also the teen room I love because it has a lot of like retro looking furniture. So there's a very old looking computer on there, and also a boombox, I guess. Do you call it a boombox? Because in my country we just call it a radio. Cassette tape player. Oh my gosh, people who are watching this who were not around in like the 2000s probably don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, shout out to everybody who's feeling nostalgic by looking at these vintage objects. I feel like they're vintage at this point, right? Because they're like over 20 years old. But there's a certain charm to it, I think. And yeah, I really enjoyed furnishing the teen bedroom. More so than any of the other rooms. So yeah, also just a random observation with The Sims 4. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but for some reason the walls in The Sims 4 look transparent. I don't know why that is. If I build a wall in The Sims 4 and I paint it white, it looks see-through for some reason, or it looks glowing. And that always like bothered me just from a visual standpoint. That always kind of like bothered me with The Sims 4. So I wish for a future Sims game, they would implement like a wall thickness. That'd be great, because yeah, the walls are just really thin. Like, what are these, dry walls? These are obviously like not load-bearing walls because they look very flimsy in all of the Sims game, not just in The Sims 4. But yeah, I think we are pretty much approaching the end of this video. I just want to give you guys a quick little life update before I wrap things up. So as I mentioned in the very beginning of this video, I was very busy dealing with real life stuff, and that's because I actually got a promotion in December. So most of the time I was just spending most of my time and energy on adjusting to that new position, and my company also sent me out to do some paid training. So that took up most of my free time in December. I'm just absorbing and processing all of the new information. I'm also reading books on management as well, because my boss gave me like some books to read. And yeah, at the moment, I am helping to manage a small team for my company. So, I get really stressed because aside from doing my own work, I also have to keep track of people's work as well. So that's always fun. But I'm glad that I have this opportunity, and I'm really grateful to be able to grow, I guess, as a person. That sounds very cliche, but I actually mean it. I did not know I was gonna be a project manager when I signed up for this job. Like last year, I'm really proud of myself for really pushing myself, I guess, with this job. So anyway, that is pretty much it for this build, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's pretty much it for the landscaping. Pretty basic. If you guys notice that I'm spacing out the bushes and stuff, that's because you need to be able to get to them, because they will get overgrown and you're going to need to tend to them, or you're going to have to hire a gardener that tends to your bushes. So just please keep that in mind. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this build, actually. Hopefully I get to do more Sims builds, because this was definitely a lot of fun, and I'm definitely having a lot of fun with my own personal gameplay as well. So yeah, I just want to take a second to say thank you to all of you guys for sticking throughout this video. And that is going to be it for me for today. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. You all have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.